Hi, I'm James, and this is Amy. We spent the last year living and working in Scotland and exploring its incredible landscapes. But now we're embarking on our biggest adventure yet. We've quit our jobs to travel for a year, or at least until the money runs out. We're currently in New Zealand's South Island and have spent the last week exploring its northern coast by foot, by bike, and by kayak. Now we start our journey south along the Wild West coast. Join us as we explore stunning landscapes. Such an amazing view from up here. You can see snow-capped mountains in the distance. Experience our first free campsite. The view is 10 out of 10, but we're getting eaten alive by midges. And try Queenstown's most famous burger. Before heading to Fjordland National Park to see the incredible Milford Sound. Okay, the West Coast road trip has begun. We've been driving for a few hours now and we've just arrived at our first stop, Pancake Rocks. Also known as Punakaiki, the Maori word for pancakes, Pancake Rocks are one of the most popular stops along the Great Coast Road. They formed when alternating layers of hard limestone and soft sandstone were eroded over millions of years, leaving behind these incredible rock formations that resemble huge stacks of pancakes. That was a very cool stop to see the Pancake Rocks. Now we are going to get back on the road and continue our journey south along the Great Coast Road. So we've just arrived at our campsite in Lake Mahinapua. It's a dock campsite, which means that it's run by the Department of Conservation, and you can either pay to stay in these campsites or you can buy an annual pass, which is what we did, which gives you free entry to dock campsites all throughout New Zealand. We've just arrived in Franz Josef to see the Glacier, which is just behind me there. It's just a 15-minute walk from this car park here up to a lookout where there's supposed to be a really nice view of the glacier. The only way to get close to it is actually to take a helicopter up there, which we're not doing for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it's really expensive. And secondly, it feels a little bit weird to be taking a helicopter when the reason that the glacier is receding is due to climate change. So we won't be doing that one. Our next stop is Fox Glacier, which is just 30 minutes down the road from Franz Josef. But unfortunately, it's pretty obscured by the cloud. I can just about see it peeking through, but it just blends in with all the clouds. just arrived at our last dock campsite on this road trip, and it's a really nice one. This is Lake Paringa, and we've got a really nice view of the lake out of our back window. The view is 10 out of 10, but the one downside to this campsite is that we're getting eaten alive by midges. Thankfully, a nice man who was camping just across from us gave us some of his homemade insect repellent that's made of coconut oil, lavender oil, here it is, and I think there's lemon in there as well. So we've just been rubbing this on, and it definitely seems to be working. Today's the last day on our West Coast road trip, and it's been the most scenic part of the drive so far. We're around 1 hour from Wanaka, and the road has just been winding through the mountains with amazing views on each side. So yeah, it's been a really nice drive so far today. It was a long old drive, but we finally made it to Wanaka. It's a beautiful town, right on the edge of a lake, and surrounded by mountains. We're staying here for a few days before continuing south to Queenstown, and it's meant to be a really nice place for hiking, so we're going to try and squeeze in a couple before we go. This morning we're up early to do one of the most famous hikes in Wanaka, probably one of the most famous in New Zealand, the Roy's Peak Track, and we have got the perfect weather for it. We've just started climbing, and I think it's going to be a pretty steep incline, winding its way up the side all the way to the top. There's hardly been a cloud in the sky all morning, but just as we come to the famous lookout point, a cloud has just completely enveloped the view. I think we'll probably wait here for a bit and see if it clears. Okay, so we've just passed the viewpoint, and now it's another 30-ish minutes to the top. We have made it to the top. Such an amazing view from up here. You can see snow-capped mountains in the distance. I think we're at over 1,500 meters. Now it's time to head back down and go for a drink to celebrate. We've had a lovely time here in Wanaka. It's probably been my favourite place so far. But now it's time to get on the road again and head to Queenstown. Today we've come out to the Remarkables to hike the Lake Alta Track. But the drive here was an experience in itself. The road was really steep and windy, and it climbed up the side of a mountain. There were some points where I wasn't sure if our old car was going to make it, but we got here. We're pretty high up now, so it's quite a bit colder and windier than it was down at Queenstown level.
It's like actually deep.
We've just reached the lake, and there are grasshoppers everywhere. There must be thousands of them, just hopping around on the path in front of me. Today we are hiking up Ben Lomond. No, not the mountain in Scotland. There's actually another Ben Lomond here in Queenstown, and it's several hundred metres taller. We cheated a little bit at the beginning and took a gondola up the first 500 metres to another point where the track starts, and it's around a 5-hour round journey from here. We're just approaching the saddle, where it flattens out a little bit before starting a very steep climb up to the summit. So here's the saddle here, and then we follow that track up to the top. It looks pretty steep. Very steep, very steep. The views are looking good though. We have made it to the top, and there are amazing views in every direction. So now we're going to head down, and then I think it's time for our customary post-mountain pint. It's so big. We couldn't come to Queenstown and not get a Ferg burger. There's always a huge queue outside this place, and we were quite lucky. We managed to get served in around 30 minutes, but some people end up waiting for an hour to an hour and a half. So I'm really excited to see what all the hype's about. Look at the size of it. It's like almost the same size as my head. That was like all salad. Let me try on the other side.
What's in it?
It's got tempura tofu, satay, and just salad stuff. It's really good.
Yum.
This is Amy's one. She went for the falafel. arrived in Milford Sound and the views are amazing, but the sandflies are driving us crazy. We're here for a couple of days and tomorrow morning we're up to go and explore the Sound by boat. Milford Sound is one of those places that you hear so much about, you think it can't possibly live up to expectations. But for us, it really did. You can't really appreciate the scale of this place until you see it for yourself in person. So if you're in the South Island, I definitely recommend coming and checking out Milford Sound. After our cruise around Milford Sound this morning, which was amazing by the way, we decided to make the most of this good weather window and come out and do a hike. So we've driven around 30 to 40 minutes from Milford Sound to do the Lake Alta Track. So far, this hike has been quite different from all of the other hikes that we've done in New Zealand. Most of the other tracks have been really well marked, and some of them even have walkways. Whereas this one, you kind of have to scramble over rocks and roots. It feels very similar to the walks back home in Scotland. Also, it's a very humid day today, and the first part of this hike takes us through a very dense rainforest, which is why I am dripping. Wow, we've just reached the lake. And it was definitely worth it. The walk-in was maybe 4 out of 10, but this view is a 10. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye. Next time, we continue our travels in the South Island. We've just come around the corner, and Mount Cook itself has just come into view. We search for wild kiwis on Stewart Island, visit a lavender farm near Tekapo, and hike up to a mountain hut in Mount Cook National Park. We've made it to the Muller Hut. Before returning to the North Island to complete the world's best day hike, the Tongariro Alpine Crossing. It's so cool, it looks like it could be the surface of the moon or Mars or something.